The sound of Martin's keys hitting the crystal bowl by the front door made me jump. I quickly closed the laptop, hiding the luxury resort website I'd been browsing. My husband's footsteps echoed through our spacious living room as he approached. "Carla, you home?" Martin called out, his voice tinged with exhaustion. I plastered on a smile and met him halfway. "In here, darling. How was your day?" He loosened his tie and collapsed onto the sofa. "Brutal. The Henderson account is giving me migraines." I perched next to him, my mind racing with vacation plans. "I'm sorry to hear that. Listen, I've been thinking." Martin's eyes narrowed slightly. "Oh, about what?" "Well," I began, trying to keep my tone light. "What if we took a family vacation? You, me, my mom, your parents. Somewhere tropical, maybe?" The silence that followed was deafening. Martin's jaw tightened, and I could practically see the wheels turning in his head. I don't know, Carla. Work is insane right now, and you know how my parents are about traveling." I pressed on, determined. "But that's exactly why we should do it. Everyone's getting older, and who knows how many more chances we'll have for a trip like this?" Martin sighed, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "Can I think about it? I'm not saying no, just give me some time." Something in his hesitation set off alarm bells in my head, but I pushed the feeling aside. "Of course, take all the time you need. I just thought it would be nice for all of us to spend some quality time together." He nodded absently, already reaching for the TV remote. As the news flickered to life, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to Martin's reluctance than he was letting on. But surely I was just being paranoid. After all, we had a good life, a strong marriage. What could possibly be wrong? Little did I know, that moment of hesitation would be the first crack in the foundation of everything I thought I knew about my husband and our life together. 2 weeks had passed since I'd brought up the family vacation, and Martin's behavior had grown increasingly bizarre. I found him in his study, hunched over his laptop, furiously typing away. "Hey, honey," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "I was thinking we could look at those resort options tonight." Martin's head snapped up, his eyes wide. He quickly minimized whatever was on his screen. "Oh, not tonight, Carla. I've got a big presentation tomorrow." I frowned, stepping into the room. "You've been saying that all week. Is everything okay?" "Fine," he muttered, not meeting my gaze. "Just busy." I perched on the edge of his desk, determined to get to the bottom of this. "Martin, talk to me. What's really going on?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's just work stuff. You wouldn't understand." His dismissive tone stung. "Try me. I run my own company, remember?" Martin's jaw clenched. "Look, can we drop this? I told you I'd think about the vacation, and I am. I just need some time." I stood up, frustration bubbling inside me. "Time for what? To come up with more excuses?" "Carla, please," he snapped. "I'm under enough pressure as it is." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "I'm sorry. I know work's been stressful. How about we go out for dinner tonight? Just the two of us." For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt in Martin's eyes, but then it was gone, replaced by cool indifference. "Not tonight. I really need to focus on this presentation." As I left the room, my mind was racing. What was Martin hiding? And why did I have the sinking feeling that it had nothing to do with work at all? That night, as I lay awake listening to Martin's steady breathing beside me, I made a decision. Tomorrow I'd start digging, because one way or another, I was going to find out what my husband was keeping from me. I was in the middle of a conference call when Martin burst into my home office, his face flushed with excitement. "Carla, I need to show you something. It's important." Irritated by the interruption, I quickly wrapped up the call and followed him to the living room. There, spread across our coffee table, were glossy brochures of a stunning beachfront condominium. "What's this?" I asked, my heart racing. Martin beamed. "It's a surprise for my parents. A retirement gift. Isn't it beautiful?" I stared at him, dumbfounded. "A condo? Martin, how much did this cost?" His smile faltered. "Well, it's a timeshare, actually. I used our combined savings to secure it." The room seemed to spin. Our savings? Without discussing it with me first? "I wanted it to be a surprise for everyone," he said defensively. "My parents have always dreamed of a place by the beach." Anger bubbled up inside me. "And what about my parents? What about our vacation plans?" Martin's expression hardened. "Carla, be reasonable. This is a much better investment than some fleeting vacation." Reasonable? I sputtered. You made a massive financial decision without consulting me, your wife and business partner. I knew you'd overreact, he muttered. This is why I didn't tell you sooner. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. Martin, this isn't just about the money. It's about trust, about partnership. How could you do this? He looked away, avoiding my gaze. What's done is done, Carla. The paperwork's already signed. In that moment, I saw my husband in a new light. The man I thought I knew, the partnership I thought we had, it was all built on sand. And now, that foundation was crumbling beneath my feet. We're not done talking about this, I said, my voice low and dangerous. As I stormed out of the room, I realized that this betrayal was just the tip of the iceberg. What else had Martin been hiding from me? The next morning, I woke up determined to salvage something from this mess. I found Martin in the kitchen, sipping his coffee and scrolling through his phone. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Martin looked up, wary. About what? I took a deep breath. The condo. I've been thinking, and I have a proposal. His eyebrows raised. Oh? Yes, since you used our combined savings, I think it's only fair that my parents have equal access to the property. The Gazette, we could set up a schedule, alternate weeks or months. That way, both our families benefit. Martin's face darkened. Carla, that's not possible. This is a gift for my parents. Your mother has her own place. I felt my optimism crumbling. But it's our money, Martin, our shared investment. Surely we can find a compromise? He stood up abruptly. There's no compromise. The condo is for my parents, period. And what about my family? I demanded, my voice rising. Don't they deserve consideration too? Martin's eyes narrowed. Your mother is well off. She doesn't need our charity. The words hit me like a slap. Charity? Is that how you see it? This isn't about money, Martin. It's about fairness, about family. My family, Carla, my parents' retirement dream. I won't have your mother swooping in and taking over like she always does. I stared at him, shocked by the venom in his voice. What are you talking about? My mother has never... Save it. He snapped. The decision's made. The condo is for my parents only. End of discussion. As Martin stormed out, I stood there, my mind reeling. This wasn't just about a vacation or a condo anymore. This was about years of resentment and bias I'd never seen before. And suddenly, I realized I had a choice to make. Would I continue to fight for a marriage that was built on lies and resentment? Or was it time to stand up for myself and my family, once and for all? I couldn't sleep that night, Martin's words echoing in my head. The next morning, I decided to confront him one last time. I found him in his study, reviewing some papers. Martin, we need to talk about yesterday, I said, my voice trembling slightly. He sighed, not looking up. There's nothing more to discuss, Carla. Yes, there is, I insisted. Your comments about my mother. Where is this coming from? Martin finally met my gaze, his eyes cold. It's always been there, Carla. Your mother, with her high-powered career and her constant meddling, she's never approved of me, and you know it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That's not true. She's always supported us. Supported you, maybe, he scoffed. Face it, Carla. Your family looks down on mine. This condo is my way of finally doing something for my parents without your mother's influence. The truth hit me like a tidal wave. All these years, Martin had been harboring this resentment, this bias against my family. How had I missed it? So that's it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You're willing to throw away our marriage over this? Martin's face hardened. Our marriage? Carla, let's be honest. We've been drifting apart for years. This condo situation just brought it all to the surface. I stood there, stunned. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship was crumbling around me. I can't believe this, I said, fighting back tears. All these years and you've been, what, pretending? Martin shrugged, turning back to his papers. Believe what you want. The condo stays with my parents, that's final. As I left the room, my mind was racing. This wasn't just about a property anymore. It was about years of hidden resentment, of lies and deception. And in that moment, I knew I had a decision to make. Stay and fight for a marriage that might have been a sham all along, or walk away and reclaim my life, my dignity, and my family's honor. The choice, I realized, was clear. It was time to take control of my own story. I spent the next few days in a daze, weighing my options. But as I sat across from Martin at our dining table, watching him casually sip his coffee as if nothing had changed, I knew what I had to do. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Martin's cup clattered against the saucer. "What? Don't be ridiculous, Carla." "I'm not joking, Martin. This marriage is over." He laughed, but I could see the panic in his eyes. "You can't be serious. Where would you go? What would you do?" "I have my own company, remember? I'll be just fine." Martin's face darkened. "The condo's in my name. You have no claim to it. Keep it," I spat. "I want nothing from you." He smirked, his arrogance returning. "You'll never make it without me, Carla. You need my connections, my support." I stood up, my resolve strengthening with every word. "Watch me." As I turned to leave, Martin called out, "You'll regret this, Carla. You're nothing without me." His words ignited a fire within me. I spun around, my eyes blazing. "No, Martin, you're nothing without me, and you're about to find out just how much." I stormed upstairs, my mind racing. I had built my company from the ground up, and I knew exactly how to dismantle Martin's carefully constructed world. First step, I called my accountant and instructed her to separate all our finances immediately. No more shared accounts, no more joint credit cards. Next, I contacted my lawyer. "Draw up the divorce papers," I said, "and make sure he gets nothing." As I packed my bags, I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Martin had no idea what was coming. He thought he held all the cards, but I was about to change the game entirely. By the time I walked out the front door wheeling my suitcase behind me, I had already set my plan in motion. Martin wanted a war? He was about to get one. The divorce proceedings flew by in a whirlwind of paperwork and heated negotiations. Martin fought tooth and nail, but my lawyer was relentless. In the end, I walked away with my company intact and my dignity restored. As I signed the final papers, Martin glared at me from across the table. "You'll regret this, Carla. That condo is still mine." I smiled coolly. "Enjoy it while you can, Martin." The next day, I surprised my parents with tickets for a cross-country trip. Mom's eyes welled up with tears. "Oh, Carla, you didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," I said, hugging her tightly. "We deserve this." As we traveled, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. I hadn't told my mother about the plan I'd set in motion. But when I thought of Martin's sneer, his disdain for my family, my resolve hardened. A week into our trip, my phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. "It's done," it read. I excused myself and made a quick call. "How did it go?" My assistant's voice was triumphant. "Perfect. Martin's company just lost their biggest client. Word is he's being held responsible." I felt a mix of satisfaction and unease. This was what Martin deserved, wasn't it? That night, as we dined at a charming restaurant, my mother noticed my distraction. "Carla, what's wrong?" I hesitated, then spilled everything: the condo, the divorce, and my revenge plan. Mom listened silently, her face unreadable. When I finished, she took my hand. "Carla, I understand your anger, but is this really who you want to be?" Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd been so focused on hurting Martin, I hadn't considered the cost to my own integrity. As I lay in bed that night, I wrestled with a crucial decision: continue down this path of revenge, or find a way to move forward with grace and dignity. The choice I made would define not just my future, but the person I truly wanted to be. As our cross-country trip came to an end, I made a decision. I wouldn't stoop to Martin's level. I called my assistant and told her to halt any further actions against Martin's company. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. A week after returning home, I received a call from Martin. His voice was strained, desperate. "Carla, I need your help." I listened in stunned silence as he explained. The loss of his biggest client had spiraled into a series of financial disasters. He'd lost his job, and now the condo was in foreclosure. "Please," he begged, "I have nowhere else to turn." For a moment, I savored the irony. Martin, who'd been so arrogant, so dismissive of my family, was now at my mercy. But then I remembered my mother's words about integrity. "I'm sorry, Martin," I said softly, "but this is a mess of your own making. I can't fix it for you." As I hung up, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I'd chosen the high road, and it felt right. The next few months were a whirlwind. I threw myself into my work, expanding my company and strengthening bonds with my family. I even started mentoring young businesswomen, sharing the hard-won lessons of my journey. One sunny afternoon, as I sat on my parents' porch, sipping lemonade and laughing at old stories, I realized something profound. The pain of Martin's betrayal had faded, replaced by a deep sense of peace and purpose. "You know," my mother said, squeezing my hand, "I'm so proud of the woman you've become, Carla." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over us, I felt a surge of gratitude. The journey had been difficult, but it had led me here, to a place of strength, self-respect, and genuine happiness. Martin and the condo were now distant memories. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my future. And as I looked out at the world before me, I knew the best was yet to come.